Hello everyone, welcome to Lessons Learned From. Quick little note, these little mini-series that I had created for myself, I won't necessarily be delivering the content for them every week. They'll still live spiritually, and because I do still have ideas that I want to talk about for some of them, but they might not be as consistent because I don't like forcing it, like so to speak. If I'm going to say that 3 movies with the same lesson learned from, it's going to be a little redundant. So, on that note, anyway, and for this example and some others, I might not use the entire movie and I'll break it down. A, because I want shorter segments, and B, because I want each point to have its own emphasis. Yes. Sorry. Still recovering from my cough. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about The Matrix. Why? Because I just watched it again recently. I've seen that movie, I can't even tell you how many times. It's one of my favorite movies. Watching it this time from a new paradigm perspective was really enlightening. If you haven't seen The Matrix, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty because it's a very complex kind of movie if you have never seen it before. But to those of you who have, great. If you haven't seen it and you still watch this video, spoiler alerts, might go over your head because you never saw the movie. So here we go. The Matrix, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm going to go through certain parts. And more specifically, in this one, what is the Matrix? This is probably the most obvious lesson learned from the Matrix. However, I didn't realize how in your face they were about it in the movie until I rewatched it this time. The Matrix in the movie is a computer simulated program for humans to remain in a dreamlike state while their energy is just siphoned from machines. So basically, in a nutshell, humans are the fuel for machines in this post-apocalyptic world. However, as humans, we live in the Matrix, which is a computer program. We're not aware of it, and it's just a replica of what we see as life today. It's in the 21st century, or whatever it was, like now, society. So theoretically, we could actually be in the Matrix right now, as it is in the movie, because what we see and perceive in reality is just electrical signals that are processed into our brain. Computers created that program to keep humans in this like dormant like state so that they're almost like crops and they're all attached to a network where the machines siphon humans like energy, like their biofuel and their whatever, mainly our electricity, because we have electricity in our body. We work on electricity actually. So while obviously I don't think to that extent we're really in the Matrix, there are some metaphorical ways of looking at it. The metaphorical way is the Matrix is in our how I perceive it is we all accept life for the way it is. You know, we're all programmed from young ages to work towards a certain thing in our own societies and in the world as a general thing, but like however you want to look at it. We're all programmed to aim for a certain thing, aim for a certain way of living, do certain things, and the biggest metaphor is the job, I would say, where you know you're working your whole life to become this employee of a company to whatever level, but you're still tied to that company, whatever company it may be. Now, in the movie, in The Matrix, we're almost referred to as slaves. Humans are referred to as slaves. They're not literally slaves because they're not doing anything, but they're slaves in the sense that they're in captivity, they don't even realize it, and they're just powering the machines with energy. Translating that to reality, to our real reality, is like we all become employees for businesses to make money. So we power businesses by becoming employees. Now, we all need money to live, but when we only rely on our job and our one job, we become essentially a slave to that job. If we lose that job, our life is kind of upturned. We rely on it heavily. And yeah, you can find another job, but you just find yourself in the cycle of finding another job. So finding another form of captivity. I'm not like that much of an extremist, so to speak, but like this is more of a, let's look at it conceptually and not like literally. So that's the big metaphor there. I mean, obvious, not so obvious, however you want to look at it. They actually say a few things. It's not just about the job. There's a lot of things. Morpheus says something along the lines of the matrix is all around you, in everything you see, in your job, at your church, in the television shows you watch, and outside your very window, or something like that. Now, whenever I watched the movie before, I already knew what he was talking about, but like I didn't realize how specific those examples were in your job, at your church, and in the television you watch. Like, they could have said anything, because really he's saying everything is the matrix that you think you know. But the writers chose those three specific examples. And I kind of believe it to a certain extent. Now, the job is the job. We rely on our jobs to live, and we're programmed to think that we need to have these jobs to survive. We need income to survive. This is very true. However, we don't need to have a job in the conventional sense. But we always thrive on the security of this guaranteed flow of income through a job. But when that one job goes, we peril. We go into panic. The church, I'm not against religion as a concept, but churches are all churches, not just Catholic, all churches have their own agendas, and it is the way it is. That's how they were created, and people buy into it too much, in fact, to a point of fanaticism. The ideologies are actually very nice most of the time, but it's just the manipulation through the institutions kind of makes it, questionable. But I'm not going to get into that. And then the last one is through the television, the shows you watch, and the movies if you want. And ironically, I'm talking about movies. But we're like glued to our television screens, and we're being programmed the whole time when we're watching television, whether it's on directly on the show itself or through the advertising. And most of the shows have advertising within them. But anyway, our thoughts, our values, our way of thinking, our beliefs are all being manipulated throughout most of our waking hours. And then we believe things that to be conventional or to be normal or the way they should be, because that's what we're seeing all the time. So, again, this is like extreme, but not very subtle. I used to think it was subtle before, and then I'm like, well, it's not that subtle. It's like actually in your face. But that's the lesson learned that's what the Matrix is, and that's what I'm going to leave it on. There's so many other things that I want to talk about with the Matrix, just the Matrix, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. What does that mean? What do you learn from that? So, don't quit your job outright, let's say, but don't think that you have to have that job, and don't attach your identity to the job, or don't attach your survival to the job. Start thinking about, yes, I'm working, but there has to be more opportunities. What if I lose my job? I need to know that I have other ways of creating income for myself. So I kind of look at it that way. Like, I'm not going to quit my job outright necessarily. I'm getting to the point where I might be able to. I don't know yet. But just don't think that it's my job and that's it. Like, they all go hand in hand. You work, and then you're kind of programmed to be like on TV or at church or whatever, other things to distract you from the fact that like maybe I should start looking into other things. Because what's freedom? Are we free to make our own choices? Yes, but we're not free in a sense, because should we have no job, then our way of living, based on what we've created, the standard of living we created for ourselves, goes away. So yeah, open your eyes, open your mind, free your mind, whatever you want to call it. But that's the lesson learned from the Matrix. Thanks for watching. Let's keep growing together. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what films you want me to talk about. Thanks. Bye.